Dagda, you are wrong. Tarzan immediately locks in the Volibear, as if just to prove you wrong on that one. It's going to be the Jinx and the Volibear here. And now over to EDG, as it wouldn't be too surprising to see like a bottom lane locked in here, maybe a jungler and an AD carry. We'll see which direction EDG want to take this.
I imagine it'd be the Aphelios, and then the big question is what we see coming through from Meiko. I think the Thresh could work really well here, but Meiko has opted in towards the Leona a lot, because honestly, I think EDG's best moments are when Meiko is on these engaged supports and actually the one setting up the fights, and then having like Jiejie as the secondary engage to her. In this case, Flandre on the Gnar, but it definitely feels like EDG setting up for the short range composition, and LNG kind of reading this, going, "Hang on, we have Jayce, we have Jinx." Now we can maybe look for some long-range play here to keep EDG at bay.
That's exactly what we're going to see as Ala locks in that Jayce for the top side. Certainly an accomplished Jayce player as well is Ala. So excited to see that one up on the top side of the map. And now to the bans once more. Now LNG could focus on that jungle matchup if they so wish. They already banned that Hecarim away. Could get rid of things like the Xin Zhao perhaps, or in fact the Lee Sin will be the ban. But for EDG, I'm curious where you think they're going to go with this one, Dagda. Maybe support bans?
I think support bans may be the best bet. I also think mid is honestly probably your best bet, or your best opportunity here. Like, just make sure that you get rid of, well, the Orianna for Doinb, anything that can kind of push well against this Ryze. Also, just keep in back of your mind, Doinb never played Zoe. Has never played Zoe in a competitive game. So for that, just kind of like opting into more long range here in LNG. The Zoe's not going to be a big factor for them. So maybe they think of something like the Vex as well in the mid lane. Just something that has good push and also the opportunities roam. Ahri, another big one that I think is worth taking away from Doom.
You're a wizard, Ahri, says Hagrid. But whether or not the wizard will be in this game, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, you got banned away here. And as you rightly say, Ahri, incredibly strong right now. It's something that I'm not sure. I think we literally haven't seen Doinb play it once. Not a single time. So could be a first Ahri game coming out from Doinb. But I love that EDG are just like, you know what? Just ban him out. Force him onto the Victor. Like, the Victor is kind of the standout to me. I think that would be a comfort pick available. But it's not exactly the most proactive pick, right? And I think that is what EDG are trying to do. Stop Doinb being able to influence the rest of the map.
I mean, Doinb hasn't played a competitive game of Ahri either, just having a quick look there, but I mean, it feels like something that would work for Doinb, right? High push, good mobility, option to play sidelines, but that is not Ahri, and that's not the pick I wanted to see.
He just hates skill shot based CC on your E. He just can't stand it. Zoe's out of the mix, Ahri's out of the mix. Anything that has CC on its E, not interested. Corki going to be locked in despite all of the nerfs. Doinb still going to bring this one out. See how that's going to work out for him. But over to EDG as Jiejie hovering that Jarvan. It's a bit of a signature of his.
Yeah, I mean, something that gives good engage as well, which I think is what EDG really want. Like, the ability to try and close the gap here. Leona, it feels like, should be the pick here as well for Meiko. You really want to just make sure you've got these guaranteed long-range engage tools. Rakan fitting that description as well, where he's able to follow up super well with this Jarvan. Again, just like ensuring that you can close the gap, because when you look at LNG's side, right, good poke from Corki, Jayce, Jinx, you need something that's going to be able to get on top of this crew. I think for Iwandi and Alistair could be a good pick here, because good in lane phase, ability to try and like knock Jarvan or interrupt this engage for EDG. But if they want to just go for like the full peel, Tahm Kench is the option.
Yeah, certainly a lot of range on the side of LNG, right? The Corki definitely fits with the poke style composition. And this isn't the only recent Corki we've seen out from Doinb, right? He played it up against LGD. They didn't end up winning that game. It was a bit of a different composition with an Aphelios and a Gnar. This time around with a Jinx and with that Jayce, maybe this can work. LNG pretty much a full poke composition up against EDG, who I'd argue is essentially a front to back comp.
Yeah, definitely a front to back comp here for EDG. Like, short range, you're looking to dive. Like, that is the game plan here. Like, Gale Force follow Viper, and you've got the reposition tools and Scout to try and get you into these favorable positions so you can close the gap onto LNG. The big question mark for me, though, is for LNG is like, how do you want to play? Because you've got options. You can go for this like full range kind of style, or you can try and play 3 side lanes. I think the biggest thing, regardless of whether you want to do the range option or the side lane option, is you need control of the early game. If you are not having this early success, you don't get posted up on the objectives first to try and use the long range that you have. You don't really get to play through side lanes either because, well, EDGs, we said, get to play through their neutrals. That's the EDG way of setting up and using these as big team fighting tools. So I think for LNG, I want to see what can be done on this Volibear in the early stages. If you can have Tarzan link up with Doinb, like try and get some pressure, but it's really hard when you got the Corki in the mid lane. So maybe you just try and play towards Al in the top side, but again, it's not this lack of priority in the mid lane that the Corki brings makes it a bit tough for LNG to try and have the game plan that they need.
Yeah, and especially against EDG, who is a team that is so decisive around these objectives, right? That's the biggest strength EDG have had. Like, I'm not saying EDG is the perfect team. They certainly have had some real issues in recent series, but the objectives, that's the thing they're good at. You can't find a lead for LNG. Might be very difficult to ever regain control of the game once more, but we're on to Summoner's Rift here, Dagda, for week number 9, day number 2, and it's EDG against LNG. Now, these two teams currently tied in the standings at 5th and 6th, with EDG winning that tiebreaker on game difference right now. So sitting in that 5th place position. Whoever wins today will move themselves up the standings all the way up to 4th place, and potentially, with the right game difference, could even get higher than that one, managing to tie up with RNG and Weibo. Obviously, game difference will come into it for that one, but both teams desperate for a win here because they're still in the running for getting higher up towards the end of the split.
We'll have to see if LNG can find that early success or if EDG are going to be able to play through this team fight. It feels, at least for the moment, like kind of a bit of comfort on both sides. I will say a little bit of a different composition than we traditionally see for LNG. But you still do have the ability to try and play through these sides.
To be honest, I feel like that's a good thing, right, Dagda? Because, let's be honest, there's been big issues for LNG. I'm totally okay with at this point, because it's not playoffs just yet. I like that they're changing things up. I like this isn't a traditional comp from them, because traditional just hasn't been working as of late. So if it ain't broke, fix it. I mean, if it is broke, fix it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Just fix it.
Flandre is doing all kinds of hopping and hipping around up in the top side, went into the wrong side of the lane, then hops back out, and somehow they're both still full HP.
Yeah, and it manages to pick up the CS as well, so means that he won't have the boomerang to try and farm a few more of these creeps, which he would like to, but this is kind of the way this matchup goes. Ala just has that longer range, and especially for the Gnar, who the reason he's relatively fine in these topside matchups is because he's got the ability to get away, he's got a bit of range under him, so you can't punish the mini Gnar form. That's not the case against the Jayce. Generate Shock Blast, the ability to like speed yourself up, even close the distance is super good, so Flandre definitely going to have his work cut out for him in this matchup, as you can already see. Full push for Ala in that top side.
Yeah, full push so far, as you would expect. I'm saying as Jiejie clearing away his blue buff here, perhaps could try and make something happen in that top lane as Ala likely to overextend, and let's be honest, he's got a bit of a reputation for overextending up in that top side. We've seen Ala fall to a gank more than once across the course of his career, but it looks like he will respect for now, moving down to try and get some vision. Tarzan moving up to this top side as well alongside Ala, and actually it may be Jiejie that gets ganked instead of the top laner as he moves towards the river. Tarzan and Ala here, but he will spot them. They don't know he's there. Scout is moving over. This could get dicey for LNG. You can see Flandre grouping up as well. There's the knockup. As Scout gets damaged down. There's first blood instantly. And Ala slowed by the red buff. We'll have to flash in a second, I think. There it is. Coming out. But Flandre following this one, looking for more damage. The EQ not going to land. This is going to be a bit of damage. But either way, first blood for EDG.
I think they were just hoping for enough damage to come through onto Ala to take him down, but when you've got the Time Warp Tonic, healing from both the biscuits in the pot is going to be too much now. EDG, though, getting control already in this river. This is much stronger from EDG than we've seen in the past. Good interaction between the top half.
Yeah, let's take another look, because this was... I love how calculated this was from EDG, right? You see them all hiding in different bushes, waiting for the opportune moment.
Yeah, good response from Ala, though. Like, actually kind of reads, hey, hang on, something's afoot here. Moves out of the brush so you don't get the double knockup. But you can see here, right, flash forward, but Ala ends up popping the biscuit just to keep himself nice and topped up. And there's very little damage that can actually come through to follow up. Jiejie, I don't think he was actually trying to land the EQ combo. Was a bit worried about being locked up underneath the turret, but And
I
just meant
don't
that
get
you
why
didn't
he
have to CC to
flashed.
lock him. Yep.
Yeah, the flash to just Q on a guy that's half health is a little bit weird. But either
That's
way.
the thing. Jiejie, like, has been a little bit off, like, the last little while. Like, especially I'm a bit nervous when I see him on these big engage tools because his Hecarim has kind of jumped the gun in a lot of situations. Maybe this Jarvan is going to do the same here. Like, we've seen it from him even on the Jarvan pick throughout the split. Like, Jiejie, despite the fact that he, like, really stepped up with Worlds, has been struggling a lot in this split. And we'll have to see if he can kind of find his footing. As just in the bottom right corner, you can see that Scout had to burn his flash from Tarzan.
And that'll be crucial. We'll keep our eyes on that flash in the mid lane, whether or not Scout can be aggressed upon further by Tarzan and Doinb, who both still have their flashes. Remember, Volibear, when he has flash available, incredibly good at finding those ganks. So Scout's going to have to be really cautious on that one. But looking at across the map so far, it's just going to be the jungle and the mid lane that have those significant advantages. And we talked about Jiejie and Scout having big pressure when they find the advantages in the 2v2. That's the way that EDG generally finds their leads in the games. So now, with a lead for Jiejie, with a lead for Scout, you can expect them to try and extend that. And as I say it, they start to make their way through this jungle together.
Level advantage for Tarzan over Jiejie, though. You do have to be careful if you overextend here, and I think they're aware, hey, look, Ala, although his wave is pushing out, we'll be able to hit these creeps with the accelerated shock blast, so they're just going to leave space. Don't want to try and push up too far, because diving that tower is not going to be pretty.
Certainly won't. Everyone returns to their lanes once more. A couple of pings on this bottom side of the map. Perhaps Dragon could be an option. 6 minutes on the clock, but Tarzan for now, up on this top side. I don't know whether he's actually going to try and get onto Flandre here. Looks like he wants to make the play, but at minimum, will Shadow for Ala to be able to just shove this wave underneath the tower, or at least clear it out. And Flandre, desperate to hold this as long as he possibly can, might walk into the push with Tarzan. Tarzan's actually going to stay. Oh, this might get dicey for LNG. If Tarzan stays here too long, Flandre is so safe here.
Yeah, and there's so much time wasted by Tarzan. Now that Ala's here again, like, Flandre's just like, all right, cool. Well, this is going to hit my tower, but I'm all right.
Dodge.
So, like, look at how much time has been wasted by Tarzan. Now you've got the bot invade coming through from EDG. No response here from Tarzan because he's actually just been stuck on this top lane. Flandre still managing to get a little bit of a freeze off for himself. Oh, it feels like so much time has just been wasted for naught here for him.
Yeah, and Jiejie, in the meantime, gets to invade on the bottom side. Grabs himself that blue buff. Very nicely done. He'll get a Scuttle Crab as well. There is a ward in the Dragon Pit. I don't know if he's seen that. I don't know if you can see that from the outside.
Oh.
I don't think so. So nice little sneaky ward on that bottom side will mean the vision of Dragon still available. Tarzan goes over to his Gromp now. So Viper and Meiko do need to be a little cautious. They're quite pushed up in that lane.
Yeah, they should be okay, though. Not really going to have too much pressure here, and Viper should be able to push in relatively okay. Full vision in River makes it really difficult for Tarzan to get into that bot lane as well without being spotted. So this should be all right. Jiejie now coming back onto this bot lane, though. It feels to me like we're going to get this complete shove in bot side here for Viper and Meiko, and then for them to start trying to look for a roam up towards this build. And we talked about EDG wanting to focus on these early objectives. I mean, getting this push in the bot lane feels like the best way to try and start that one.
I love this from EDG, stopping the recalls coming out from LNG so that there's no priority when it comes to that Rift Herald, right? Making sure the bottom lane has to stay. Then Viper and Meiko can start to make their own way up themselves. Doinb trying to get a bit of poke onto Scout. He has vision of Tarzan, but still goes for a very heavy trade. Does not win it. But you can see the bottom lanes of both teams making their way over. Doinb trying to push this mid wave, but in the meantime, EDG going to start this Herald off. In fact, though, we could have a bit of a 5v5, but then again, Light decides to stay on the bottom side in the end.
Yeah, the reason Scout went for that heavy trade was more so a case of, right, either Doinb tries to reset to get the package for himself, which has to respond, or he's going to try and protect his jungler. So either Scout gets a chunk of Tarzan, so they get the Rift Herald anyway, or Doinb can't reset for the package. So just nice job from Scout, and he's got 2 corrupting pots stacks left, so it wasn't going to take too much damage. Bot lane though, Iwandi.
Yeah, just going to see a bit of a heavy trade going on. Oh, it's not even a trade, is it? It's just Iwandi taking damage. Scout moving over. No, he's not. Oh, last second, they changed their minds on that one. decide not to pull the trigger. And I think rightly so, right? They got themselves the objective. Like, this is classic EDG. They actually don't want to fight in the early game if they can help it. Their carries are Ryze and Aphelios. Like, if this goes slow and they could just focus on objectives, well, that's just beautiful in their mind.
Yeah, and it's about trying to stop LNG getting whatever you can do as EDG to prevent that win condition from LNG. It's going to work great. Fighting ends up meaning that it's a bit of a coin toss as to who comes out on top. Sometimes LNG can just outperform you in the fight. So for EDG, playing smart, playing through this mid push with Scout, like having him roam around the map, is the best way for you to try and finish that, kind of finish off LNG here. You've already got the Rift out as well. More than likely that he's going to go in towards the mid lane just to try and like set Doinb behind, allow Scout more access to the map, but you've got options here as EDG as to exactly where you want to try and put that.
Yeah, you can see Scout grabbing himself that Scuttle Crab as well on the top side to deny that from Tarzan, while Jiejie wouldn't have been able to go for it for himself. And I love that we've been seeing across the course of this game, Scout being really proactive. Even though there's only one kill on the board, like, since he hit the level 6 mark, he's consistently pushing out a wave, then hovering up to top, then pushing out a wave, then hovering down to bot. Like, just putting that imaginary threat onto these side lanes, making sure that they can't be too aggressive with the range advantages that they have on either side. Also, worth mentioning, Flandre currently like 20 CS up in this top lane match.
Yeah, not the way I kind of expected that one to go. It has been matched though for Light and I in the bot side as Light has got 3 of those turret plates, and now LNG with the package picked up by Doinb want to start looking for that pressure off this bot side as well. So EDG need to be careful. There's only Jiejie and Meiko here for the moment, so they will just back it up.
Yeah, nicely done by LNG here to find themselves an objective. Now, Herald in the pocket of Jiejie. Maybe we'll just look to slam that in the mid lane. It feels like the mid lane plates have started to become more and more of a priority for so many teams. Flandre gets knocked underneath the tower here. Package up to the top lane from Doinb, but it's not really ideal. A bit too far back on the package, to be honest. And Flandre has to flash, but that's going to be it. Now TP into the mid lane, but that's 3 tower plates taken in that mid lane. And now an engage from Viper and Meiko in the bottom side. Tarzan forced to flash or jump away, as he is that Mega Bear. Doinb throwing some rockets. EDG will be denied the engage, but even still, good damage coming out.
Excuse me, Mr. B. You've got to be aware that if you're going to end up leaving your lane like that, that if there is a Rift Herald, they can take a hell of a lot, and now he might be in trouble.
Oh, Doinb. Step way too far forwards. I mean, that was kind of inexcusable, to be honest. I don't know what he expected.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Not exactly it. Now, Viper trying to see if he can play forward. Does manage to get some damage onto Light, but again, like, now, EDG, they're starting to open up onto the map. Getting control over this bot side jungle of LNG. Getting control of that mid lane. Maybe looking for Light, but knowing that Iwandi is on the spot side, they're going to back it up.
Yeah, and crucially, just look at the gold difference between AD carries right now. You've already mentioned Light had 3 turret plates in that bottom side, and yet gold only 200 in his favor right now. Really not ideal. As Viper going for a cleanse onto the slow, and Meiko denies the knockup from Iwandi. Very nicely done here by the EDG bottom lane. Able to set themselves up once more. As Flandre will get the turret plate. Yeah, the melee's finishing up.
Flandre just about picking up, but again, fair juice to Flandre. Like, this is a matchup where Jayce should have control, should have full priority, and you're seeing full turret plates still stacked there for Flandre. And that early freeze that he got off really starting to help him out, and like a 300 gold lead now for himself through the farm, and the turret plates he's picked up. Flandre just outlaning Ala in the counter match.
Yeah, really beautiful stuff coming out from Flandre, being able to just completely control that top
lane.
lane.
Do we need a replay of this? Do we really need one? It's just like, let's just kick him out while he's down.
Yeah, I mean, yes is the answer. This is the LPL. This, like, let's be honest, we know the replay ops in the LPL, they love it. They love every single tiny mistake you make. We've had pro views of mistakes. Instead of a pro view of the player that outplayed it or whatever, it's like, oh, somebody flashed at the spot. Oh, somebody did a Zhonya's in the middle of a fight for no reason. Let's pro view that. Let's get an up-close personal replay of this complete blunder. The LPL replay ops, they have no mercy.
The pro view ones are the most brutal because it's like, yeah, we can see there was nothing. There was no excuse here. It's just like, here you go. It's exactly what he was looking at. But EDG now, still trying to wrestle control over this bot lane. This is what we talked about, right? The EDG way, strong mid jungle. We got it here. Now starting to roam that down towards the bot side, trying to focus on Viper. Get this guy the tower, open up the game, and just trying to put as much pressure towards Light on this bot side. Because Ala, well, he's already behind in the lane, so the split push comp for LNG not looking too hot.
No, and we talked about it before. When you fall behind on a poke composition, it sucks. It really does. And Tarzan wants to stop them falling behind as he goes for an engage. Jumps onto Jiejie as well. But Meiko and Jiejie just going to walk away, somehow surviving. The tower went down during this, and Scout just walking towards 4. Scout and Viper both going crazy in the play as Tarzan survives under the tower, but no fear in the carries of EDG.
Not at all. Viper getting that huge Moonlight Vigil to help finish off Doinb. Tarzan now very low as EDG move in to contest the red. You've got to be so careful. Look at where Ala is. He has no control over his lane. And either you get the red here, or you get top tower, or you get both.
Oh, Iwandi swallows up his jungler to keep him safe. There's an Frost. Look at Viper's positioning right now. He's alone, and will get knocked up by Iwandi. I don't think the rest of the team can follow up here. That's going to be a roam up, but it's denied by Tarzan. Viper should go down, but it's traded 1-for-1. Jiejie gets a gold drink to keep himself safe as well. Scout trying to turn it around. Blocks the zap as well. The teamwork out from EDG in this one is beautiful.
And it was so smart from Tarzan, like, stop the root cause of Viper's escape, but he has to overextend to do it, and Light just doesn't have the damage to carry through. Now Flandre still putting pressure on this top side. It's just falling apart for LNG.
Yeah, certainly is. 5-1 for EDG, and it does feel good to see EDG playing as a team well in the early game, right? Because I feel like there's been so many early games where I'm kind of scratching my head watching EDG, but today it feels like they are on form and being so aggressive around this red as well.
Yeah, I mean, Viper's position here is to try and threaten Light. They think, hey, look, EDG's front line should be able to deal with Tarzan, but here, Viper thinks, oh, I'm going to be able to escape, but Tarzan flashes forward to CC Scout, stops the Realm Warp, but it only ends up putting Tarzan in an awful position where you end up trading 2-for-1 on the back end of the skirmish. Now Dragon up and available, EDG full control, and it feels like from this, EDG, I mean, you can put the pressure onto the bot lane where LNG are slightly overextended, or you can just move back through mid, push that in, and go over towards Rift Charge.
And one of the things I'm taking away from that fight as well, on top of it, is obviously the Drake going the way of EDG, but Scout's damage onto Light, that EQ at the end there, doing about a quarter of Light's health. This is a one-item Ryze. This is Scout going for the AP build. This is Scout now just finishing the Archangels literally as I speak. He is going to hit like a truck. I think a lot of people have kind of forgotten that Ryze can be a damage carry if you build AP. Everyone's been building this tank Ryze build for so long at this point that everyone forgets that Ryze really can hammer home. And Scout, is looking to do exactly that this game. And I'm excited for it. I'm down for it because Scout, it feels like he's playing well today.
I mean, this is also the build that we're going to see in playoffs. Like, on 12.5, we're seeing massive changes where you need that AP build to actually get the extra damage that you need out of your spells. So, with that tank build kind of being gone off the board, Scout now kind of getting used to this new AP style, and feels like he's certainly back at home on it. Like, it's been around for a good while, so Scout going to be able to churn out the damage, and 3-0-2 there for the mid laner for EDG. The team fight carry in and of himself. I'm excited to see what he can do, because you've already got, like, Riftshroud now gone the way of EDG. They should be able to continue to put the pinch onto LNG and continue to play for these neutral objectives.
Yeah, Meiko needs to be a little cautious here. He is on Rakan, though. You're never really in danger on Rakan. That's kind of one of the tricks about picking this champion is you have so much mobility to escape. As long as you have a teammate at least vaguely nearby, you can escape many situations. So Meiko gets a bit of deep vision, backs off again. 5-1 on the scoreboard and about 3,500 gold lead in favor of EDG. As Jiejie will escape, Meiko does as well. I feel like Jiejie and Meiko have played exclusively as a duo this game. Every time we look at one of them, the other is there. They're both narrowly escaping and never quite taking enough damage.
Hey, you say that, but you can't forget about Viper. Viper's been in the back pocket as well this whole time, and this is where it actually makes it a little bit tough. You can see, like, Viper shoving in mid.
That's like the least sneaky thing I've ever seen. He's like trying to do a secret agent play into the warded brush and dashes across the ward. He's like from out of vision to in vision to out of vision. It's, I don't know. Sorry, it was just comical. Sorry, I interrupted you, but I just...
The thing for Viper is like, this is why he's got such high like kill participation. This is why he's got like super high, well, comparatively jungle proximity and dual proximity. He's always moving with them for plays like this.
Yeah, Viper, he's a monster. He's an absolute monster. He is always there to follow up on these setups from Meiko and Jiejie. And as you say, highest kill participation on the entire team. Like, for an AD carry, you don't see that. That's not even just, like, a rare stat. That's, like, you don't ever see that. So, it really does say a lot about the way that Viper plays and the way that him and Meiko move around the map together as well, right? I'm talking about Meiko and Jiejie grouping up, but Viper's always there.
Yeah, and it's about, like, shoving mid and then rotating to meet the lanes that Flandre and Sked have prepped. And because Viper has the winning mid matchup in the AD carries, it makes it a lot easier for him knowing, hey, look, I mean, look at the vision control that is in the LNG bot side jungle. Do you ever feel worried about Viper as like leaning to the bot side of mid lane and pushing in? No, because you know there's absolutely no one on that side. So for Viper, he pretty much has all the information that he needs to play aggressive and get the push in this mid lane. And then, as you said, like grouping with the lanes that EDG are pushing in. Ala was being shoved in by Flandre, so they just moved to that lane. Now you can see the scout is starting to prep that top side, so you push in mid. And then you start to drift in again as Viper to the side.
Yeah, it is beautiful. It is really beautiful. And honestly, with Scout on his team, it feels like Viper has been taking lessons on how to pressure from mid lane. Because that's exactly what we saw from Scout earlier on. We were talking about it. As Scout hit level 6, he was immediately just clear the wave and lean towards another lane, put pressure on it. It feels like now Viper has taken over that role on the Aphelios. He's now shoving out that mid lane and leading towards the sides. But realistically, LNG can't ever even pressure on the sides. They're never in a position to be ganked because they're consistently so shoved in because they're so far behind across the map at this point. It's almost a 5,000 gold lead in favor of EDG. And after this tier 2 falls on the bottom side, it will become exactly that, a 5,000 gold lead. And LNG, you know, this is the series that might decide which round of playoffs they go into. And so far in game 1, we're not seeing much that's convincing me that they'll make it an extra round further.
This is far more convincing from EDG. Like the ability to play the map, the early game going well, their skirmishes have been on point. Like this is what I wanted to see from EDG all split long. And we got a glimpse of it at the start of the split, but as they started to go up against the top teams in the LPL, that's where it all started to fall apart. Now though, this looks like the EDG that won Summer, the EDG that won Worlds, and it's a slow, methodical game plan that is so difficult to counteract.
Tarzan being caught out by a cheeky little flag and drag here, and Meiko follows up with the quickness. Tarzan using absolutely everything. We're halfway across the map from where we started the fight, but Tarzan now being devoured by Doinb, but there's no way out of the Cataclysm. Doinb flashes away, now damage from Doinb, and maybe EDG have gone too far. The rocket from Doinb annihilates half of the squad from EDG. Jiejie slides on out, but he's 1 HP, and now the flank from Ala as well. This might be a full ace. This might be the moment as Ala flashes forward. Can't quite find the shock blast. Flandre and Jiejie have to back off, and Baron will be started just as we count them out. LNG come up swinging.
Warmogs has been picked up for Jiejie, though. He's healing a substantial amount, so maybe he tries to look for the steal, but it actually looks like EDG just going to give this look for mid lane turret instead, but way overextended there for EDG. Right as we're saying, it's slow and methodical. They just go gung-ho.
Certainly did. No fear in their hearts, and I understand why they were so confident. But, oh, wait, Meiko, that's not the place you want to be. There's a lot of LNG players right there. They're going to Hexgate out themselves. They got the blue buff and they're happy with that. They get a tower in the top side. I just said how EDG had found themselves 5k gold up in this game. Well, now it's 800 gold. That was a 4k gold swing in the last minute.
And remember what we said, Jayce sometimes just goes that bit too far forward. Like, there isn't the follow-up here from EDG. And also, you can see Scout having growing pains in a second here on this AP Ryze. Moves into a position to tank up all the damage here. It's like, I'm a Ryze. What are you talking about? You can't kill me. You're like, no. You're the AP build. You don't have the health bar to tank up that damage. And Viper, unfortunately, runs headlong into Ala. It's a disaster for EDG.
And it's worth mentioning as well that, yes, Corki did get nerfed, but this AP build still hits really hard. We saw Doinb just absolutely shredding EDG. When you group up like that in jungle chokes, this AP Corki will still annihilate you with the big rockets. So you do have to be cautious. Scout has found Doinb though. There's an Everfrost. There's some damage and knock-up, but Devour comes out from I1D, saves Doinb's life. He backs out to safety, and once again, EDG are thwarted.
Still though, Baron is up. TP for Doinb. They want to make sure they're getting some of these towers back. This swing for LNG is all about them getting control of the map, tempo advantage, so they can post up on objectives, so they can use this range, and you're seeing it now. The siege potential with this comp is too much for EDG to handle. Flandre on this top side trying to just trade, because EDG know, look, if LNG are just going to group like this, it doesn't matter how many people we are, we're just not going to stop.
Yeah, at least a tier 2 taken there, so some level of trade out from EDG. And man, just think, if EDG actually loses this game now, what a way for it to happen. This team that we keep praising for being so intelligent, this team that we keep praising for their decision making, and off of just a way to over-aggressive play on towards Tarzan, on towards I1D, the two targets that realistically you can't pick. I mean, look how tanky Tarzan is at this point. Has the chem tank as well as a Thornmail there on top of it, with his boots on top of that as well. So it's like, realistically, you just don't have the damage to take him down. Feels like now EDG losing some semblance of control across the map, but with Baron going down in 10 seconds, I feel like EDG will be able to resume their control that they had.
But that's the problem, is when you look at them now getting control back of the jungle, you can see Meiko is really struggling. Because LNG have been able to get the reset and the tempo advantage, now they're the ones that can control how they want to set up at this dragon. You don't have that same deep vision, so EDG can pick off LNG as they get into river. It's now LNG pushing mid, rotating across as a team, and now they get to use that range that they've been so desperately trying to make work this whole game.
Yeah, priority in the mid lane as well for LNG here, as they could look towards their second Drake. It's 40 seconds until that Hextech Drake comes up, remember. If EDG get that one for themselves, it would be Soul Point. Certainly a phenomenal place for EDG to find themselves, but they need to get that Drake first. And it's Tarzan versus Jiejie. Both these guys known for being pretty decent on the smites, but I'd definitely give the edge to Tarzan on that.
So, the big thing that we got to take note of, though, is that Flandre has TP, and there is a ward that is just snuck in the back behind LNG. So maybe Flandre in that tri-bush on bot side could look to try and flank, but EDG forcing LNG back, contesting this mid priority, and LNG now just looking to open up with their poke.
Certainly are, but EDG so far still full HP. Against this poke composition, no real poke has landed. So EDG still doing okay, trying to slowly but surely inch their way in towards the river. There's a bit of damage onto Jiejie as he moves towards the Drake here. Scout with a realm warp. They're looking for Ala. They're looking for a pick before the fight ever begins. Ala goes down. Beautifully executed from EDG. It's so clean.
The reposition's too difficult for LNG to deal with, and that third dragon now for EDG, and also with a wave on bot. Potential here for them to just try and take that and drive it home to that inhibitor turret. You can see LNG realize this as resets start to come through for light. Doinb would try and push out this top wave, but I'm not sure. They may just lose the entirety of their bot side here.
Might do. We'll have to wait and see. EDG gonna at least take this Gromp. Should be able to get Wolves. There is no tier 2 in the bottom side, so EDG... I mean, there's no tier 2 anywhere for LNG, so EDG can't get too much off the back of it, but at least they got themselves that soul point. And just take another look at this. Watch Scout. He hides in that brush. They know they're going to make this play. He's waiting and then goes for the play as soon as Ala's out of position.
This is why Ryze is so good against these styles of composition, because you can just reposition core members into the spot they want to be. Even if that wasn't Ryze, if that was a Mega Gnar, that still would have been the same issue. And even as well, having the Jarvan here makes it very easy to close those gaps. Jarvan, flag, drag, flash, cataclysm, he's going to be 3 screens of distance before you even realize it. So you've got to be really careful here as LNG about how you're approaching it. And unfortunately, in that situation, Ala separates for a moment and EDG pounds.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about if you send a Mega Gnar, that's a bad situation. I'd argue that's a worse situation, especially when you look at Flandre's inventory right now. My goodness. The Triforce, Hullbreaker, and Aranduin's Omen, as well as halfway towards his next item. Flandre is a monster. You do not want to deal with that Mega Gnar in a fight. LNG, if they ever get caught by a big Mega Gnar, if they ever group up for Flandre, the game ends.
And you... Ooh,
Meiko has to use the quickness. He'll get out, but it's a little bit dicey. I wonder he wants to punish him as well. Light is here, but looks like Meiko will get out. Quickness, a big cooldown, though.
You're seeing the... just coming back to the Gnar build, though, you're seeing the reason why Jayce has started to fall out of the meta a little bit. He just can't build this whole break. It just doesn't give him the stats that he really wants. And it means that when he's up against, like, Flandre on this Gnar, they're just too tanky for him to push out, and they've got the ability to play side better than him. But LNG saying, screw the side lanes, we want the Baron.
Yeah.
And EDG aren't here.
They're doing it damn quick. Flandre trying to move in. He's almost Mega Gnar at this point. This could be the opportunity. Jiejie goes in with the Cataclysm. In goes Flandre into the pit. It's smited by Tarzan. But can they win the fight? Moonlight Vigil onto 2 in the back line. Tarzan tagging up. Light low on HP. Meiko gets the knock and finishes the kill off. 3v3 as Tarzan escapes the pit.
2 kills go either side, but that Baron goes to LNG. And we saw what that siege potential could do in the last one. EDG just not able to get out of base quick enough, and LNG punish.
Oh.
Meiko!
Where did he go? 2v1 shots him. What was that?
I don't know why Meiko was there. Everyone's trying to reset. You're trying to get back and make sure that you're able to...
Oh, Allah's been found. There's a Hex Gate there, but Scout's not going to let him go to it. Flash over the wall. There's the Everfrost. See you later, Allah. Scout has a target on Allah's head. There's a red dot on his forehead, and Scout's the sniper.
And Scout's got the Rabbit Dabba Doodles on his head as well with that Rabbit on Death Cap completed. But here, Jiejie now going in. Doesn't quite get the smite, but the positioning here for LNG is great. Allah over the wall means that you just can't really touch him. Doinb kind of firing from the back line. He's able to escape, but just a great steal from LNG to manage to get in, knowing that Meiko had to go for the reset. And Doinb, I mean, this is just blind. I'm not sure. Like, obviously the big one just hitting hard there for Meiko.
I love that it's the Krug that finishes him off. The Krug just punishes him. This is my jungle. This ain't your jungle. This doesn't belong to either of the junglers. This is my jungle. Meiko goes down. Yeah, just a little bit greedy for vision. Not the end of the world, but a bit. That we call that Rakan syndrome. You always think you're safe. You're not always safe. Not against this Corki build at very least. As Doinb almost full build at this point, getting close to finishing off his last item. Like, this is a Corki that is hitting hard. And EDG are going to have to be cautious of that when the dragon comes up in 50 seconds.
Light as well, 4 items now with that stopwatch too. Allah just getting the spot here on the bot side. Does manage to TP out, but no TP. That was a while ago at this stage, so surprised we're getting to replay that. But EDG anyway, quick control of River. LNG looking to land this poke once more. Allah has to clear out that wave on top side, so won't be here for the moment. But again, you got to watch your eyes on Scout. Can he find that key engage with the Realm Wall?
Yeah.
Keep your eyes on Meiko. Does he find the flank? Jiejie, no flash available, but still able to close the distance very quickly.
Trying to move in. There's a shock blast onto Meiko. Moonlight Vigil with the Gravitum as well. The follow-up from EDG. Do they have the damage, though? Meiko with the quickness, but it's not working out. Flandre finally turns Mega. It's going to be Light falling. Maybe with the carry gone, EDG can salvage this fight, but I don't think so. As LNG, Chaser or Scout, 1 HP. Viper has to go Super Saiyan if they want to win this fight. Viper and Scout escaping together. The healing from the red buff working wonders for Scout, but a shock blast still going to do big damage onto him. Meiko regrouping with the team. LNG find yet another scrap.
And the problem for EDG is that they're not getting access to the back line. They get Light, but Doinb's still there. Allah's still up and available, and there's just EDG, no damage in the tank, no run through to get onto the key members of LNG. Dragon number 2 will now go to the Chillin'. And for LNG, this is exactly how they wanted these fights to go.
Yep, Dagda, they are straight chilling at this point. 9-10 on the scoreboard. They've closed that goal gap, and now taking another look as this felt so good from Viper, right? The engage, but there just wasn't enough follow-up.
Yeah. I mean, really good engage, but look at the difference, right? Jiejie tries to get on towards Doinb, but gets locked up as he tries to pass by, so not able to get on towards Doinb. Allah free hitting from the backline as well. And EDG are just playing like catch up this whole time. Look at how well LNG are playing around the speed up of that acceleration gate. Like, the move speed is the difference maker there, where EDG just can't actually get onto Doinb and Allah, and they're just ripping through those health bars.
Crucially as well, this was an uncharacteristic moment of miscommunication. right? Where Viper's initiating that fight, but ultimately you're against the Tahm Kench, so Light gets saved by Iwandi, so none of Jiejie's stuff hits onto Light. And then you also can see that Flandre wasn't in Mega Gnar. He couldn't follow up. He only just turns Mega Gnar right before he drops into GA, so he got his ult off, but it was only onto one person. It feels like if you just wait a single moment longer, maybe you've got the Mega Gnar, maybe you can make that fight happen, but it didn't work.
The only thing I will say is that, like, I think it was fine for Viper. I actually think Flandre jumped the gun by, like, leaping in as soon as he did. I think he needed to hold off until he actually had the Mega, because you can see he gets, like, CC locked, finds it really hard to actually pop the Mega Gnar at the right moment. And I think if Flandre held on to that, maybe then he's able to, like, scoop the members of LNG back in towards EDG and they can win the fight. But when Flandre goes that low, he doesn't even get the wallop off. He only gets the Mega Gnar off before he goes down. I think if Viper had left it later, he wouldn't have hit the 3-man Gravitum. And if you don't hit that 3-man Gravitum, like, it's more about getting the ultimate out from the Tahm Kench first, because then Jiejie can actually, like, follow up. Then Flandre can follow up onto key members. If you're using the Moonlight Vigil for that, I don't know.
Okay, so good attempt then by Viper. I take it back. I didn't mean it, Viper. You are the best player in the history of the universe. I love you. I don't know if that was my penance for insulting him. Flandre is taking a few rockets to the face, but that Randuin's paying dividends there. It's just going to be a bit of a poke war, and LNG will win a poke war every single time. Package here for Doinb. Not seen the most impressive packages so far across the course of this game, but perhaps an opportunity for redemption in terms of that ability, because the rest of his Corki gameplay has been pretty stellar so far. These rockets have been doing work for him and his team. It feels like no other team in the LPL is still willing to play Corki, but seems to be working out still for LNG.
Yeah, I think it's just how much control it gives over in the early stages, and this could have been the problem for LNG, but just EDG, that one overextension in the top side of LNG's jungle gives it away. Meiko can just slap
Meiko gets the grab.
Yeah.
Okay, burns up by LNG as Meiko managed to get the Skull of Crab. There's a round walk from Scout behind enemy lines. Moonlight Vigils, Tarzan separated from his team. Scout with the flag. The rest of EDG follow up. They find the engagement. LNG half damage. Triple kill comes out from Doinb. We said he needed redemption, and he finds it. Double comes through for Light. The full ace for LNG.
And EDG are thwarted in the river. The package doing so much work for the side of LNG. Viper goes down, and now Light and Doinb will start to push in. Long death timers. LNG have won.
They've managed to pull it off in the end, 14-12. It looked doomed earlier on in the game, but EDG, one misstep in the jungle, they throw their lead, and LNG more than willing to capitalize, more than willing to put their foot down and crush EDG under heel. The Nexus will fall, and LNG on the cusp of redemption here as they go 1-0 up against EDG.
And it could have gone so differently for them. You look at EDG in the early stages, they have full control, they're playing around neutral as well, but that one overextension gives the priority that LNG need back. They get the quicker resets, they get their waves sorted. Now you don't get that deep vision for EDG to look for picks, and suddenly LNG are able to play at range. They're able to find that poke, and you can see there, Doinb definitely had that poke landing.
Yeah, just a little bit. My God, more than double anyone else's damage in the game. Like, that is disgusting. But that last fight especially, like, everyone was grouped up for him to just cleave onto everything in the fight. Like, I would love to see how much of that damage was just in that last team fight alone. Because he was doing a lot of damage for the whole game, but that last fight especially, I bet there's a good at least 5k of that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that the package literally right across where EDG had to try and follow up was absolutely beautiful. You get a ton of damage coming from the rockets and everything else. It was nasty. But again, EDG, like, this was their game. Like, they played well. Scout, wonderful in the early game. Like, I loved how active he was in the early stages. But again, like we said, Jayce sometimes jumps the gun. Meiko kind of following him down that rabbit hole. It just gave LNG the control they needed to bring it back.
Yep. EDG complete control in the early game, but throwing it away in the mid game. And LNG, the second they had control, they never let go. Sticking to this poke composition that we've seen fall out of fashion. But if it